The diplomacy, right? We heard about this call between the special envoy to the Middle East and China with Israel. What came out of that call?
Yeah, this is an interesting shift by Beijing, or if not a shift, certainly an expansion of its view. Initially, the response from China failed to condemn the attack and focused again on this call to set up an independent Palestinian state. Now, after some amount of pressure, including by that US lawmakers in China, Chuck Schumer and so on, as well as the Israeli ambassador in Beijing, we have now seen the Middle East envoy for Beijing kind of being firmer, saying that they do condemn the actions, any actions that lead to civilian deaths, and really adding a lot more nuance that is quite necessary. The underlying reason here, as Oliver flicks to, is the role, of course, that the US is going to play in this conflict. And the question is whether China wants to pitch itself against the US and against Europe in a second major conflict in as many years. China has been supportive of the Palestinians and the Palestinian cause, but this compromises and deeply complicates its own efforts as it tries to rebuild ties with the West.
So we've got the EU's top diplomat heading to Beijing. Then we've also got the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. She's going to be going to Israel as well today. So, you know, this is, I suppose, a show of solidarity on that part, and it'll be interesting to see what the EU has to say to the Chinese.
It's certainly going to be a tense moment, because not only is Europe now trying to move forward with some of these some of these investigations into possibly curbing restrictions. So we had this investigation into Chinese subsidies for EVs, steel and so on. On the one hand, they're trying to enforce this sort of economic statecraft. On the other, this issue of Israel and Hamas is deeply troubling for the Europeans too. Another point on which they perhaps see Beijing failing to take up that role of being a responsible peacemaker that it says it wants to play.